Hi everyone and welcome. Thank you for joining me for today's video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you 2 techniques to help relieve mid-back pain. So that nagging pain that you get sometimes between your shoulder blades when you're leaning over at the sink at the end of the day or chopping up food or leaning over the kids or people you care for. That's the kind of pain we're going to be helping today. Today, you're going to see me use a couple of different soft tissue mobilization tools. This is called an AccuMobility ball. It has a flat base. I'm also going to be using a TheraBall, describing how you use that, and you'll see me using it. I'm also going to be using a TheraCane for these 2 treatment techniques. There are links for these tools in the description below. So these 2 exercises that we're going to be doing are going to be in the mid-back, and before I show you them, I'd also like you to look up the video for the respiratory diaphragm. It's very important in mid-back pain. It's on its own separate video, but it will say respiratory diaphragm relief. So you're going to add that to the 2 I show you today. All right, so the first technique we're going to do is for the outside of your shoulder blade. So I'm going to turn a little bit so you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. So you know where your shoulder blades are. Those are called scapula. And we're going to work on all this tissue on the outside of your scapula. How do you know you're there? Because you can feel a bony landmark. The scapula is kind of like an upside down triangle. And you want to feel right along the outside of it. And you're using your fingers. We're looking for a tight or tender spot. And when you find that tight or tender spot, that's where you want to work. That's a myofascial restriction, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. If you're not really finding anything tender, look for something tight. So something that you feel like, boy, I just can't get my fingers in there like I can in the rest of it, of the tissue. You might even feel like a little knotted ball. You know, when people talk about the knots on the top of their shoulder blades or the top of their shoulders and their upper traps, those are myofascial restrictions. So you're looking for that kind of a thing along here. There is the edge of the bone. So you might think, well, no, all I feel is a tender bone. No, there's muscle over it, and you're actually on a muscle group and a tendon. So once you find it, we're going to work on this 2 different ways. I'm going to have you can use your ball, you can use the AccuMobility tool. You're going to lie on your side. You stack your knees. Move the microphone wire. Stack your knees. Keep your arm in front of you. I'm going to put the ball there just for safekeeping. And slowly lie down on that spot. The nice thing about, I'm a little high, so I'm going to shift my body down a little and back a little. Now I'm on it. It's very tender. The thing I like about the AccuMobility tool is because it has a flat base, it can't roll around. And all you have to do is shift your body. So once you've found your spot, so we're starting the 5 minutes right now, so our time has begun. If you still haven't found a tender or tight spot, just pause the video for a moment and keep looking, and then feel if you still can't figure out a change in pain or stiffness along the outside of your shoulder, the outside of your shoulder blade, then go to where you feel that it doesn't feel like the rest of the line. It might feel like, oh, this kind of feels thicker, or this feels rounded out, the rest of it feels smooth. That's where you want to start, but most of us are pretty tender here. So as you lie down, I want you to soften your body, relax and meld over the tool. You could be using this. You can also use the TheraBall. All these tools are in the description below. There's a link for these tools in the description below. And as you're lying there and you're softening, if it becomes painful, that's okay. Stay there. You're on a good spot. You're not injuring yourself. However, if it becomes so painful where you're tensing against the pain, or you find yourself holding your breath and that is too much, you need to maybe roll away a little bit from it, or it might be too firm of an object and you need to start with something softer, like a dish rag or a face towel just rolled up or knotted up, and start with that. Everybody's body is different. You just have to honor where you're at. Just because you have to start with something really soft doesn't mean you're not helping yourself. You just have to start where your body allows you to start. And then you can start adding more firmness and a harder soft tissue tool as you go along and you start getting the changes. So while we're here, we're just softening. We're on myofascial restrictions, those hard, tight areas, those tender areas. When you work on yourself, when you're doing the John Barnes myofascial release techniques, you're using mechanical energy. In this case, we're using compression. And you use it for a minimum of 5 minutes, 5 uninterrupted minutes. Because when mechanical energy is placed into the human body for 5 minutes, it starts this electrical flow called the piezoelectric effect. And it just so happens that the piezoelectric flow flows right through the fascia. It's like the fascia is a copper wire in the body. And so as it's flowing through the fascia, it comes to these areas that are tight, knotted down, myofascial restrictions where there's been dehydration, gluing down and tightening down. It causes those areas to rehydrate, soften, and lengthen. And when that happens, there's less pain, you get mobility back, good function comes back. Here we are, time. And some of you, as you're lying here, make sure your neck is nice and soft and you're relaxed down on your pillow. You may feel some finger-like projections coming out from the area you're working on. That's okay. That just means there's tension through the fascial cobweb to other places. That means you're also, by the way, helping those other places if you know you have pain, you've had problems there. So you might be here and feeling it going up into your neck or across to your other side. And if you've had the experience of having pain or tension in those other places, this is helping to relieve that. It's a little counterintuitive. But as you're lying here, you're feeling for a release. And the real release feels like taffy pulling, taffy relaxing, taffy stretching, butter melting. Warmth might come into the area. That's a sign of a release. Less pain in the area. That's a sign of a release. You might have an emotion come up or a memory come up. And as you're here, and if you feel that sense of softening or less pain, you've got your release. Sometimes then a few seconds later, all of a sudden the pain comes back. Well, what you've done is you've gone through a layer of the fascial restriction. Fascial restrictions are laid down like layers of the onion. So the first time you get a release, it's the outside. And then as you relax down, you're going to the next layer. And that's why you start feeling it again. It's not that you've done something or it's come back, the pain's come back. You're just going into the older restrictions and you're just going through the layers of the fascia, or excuse me, the layers of the onion, the fascial restrictions. So we've come to the end of the 5 minutes. And when you're done, you're more than welcome to stay there longer. You're not going to injure yourself. You'll just get more and more releases. So you can be there 15, 20 minutes if you'd like. You won't hurt yourself. It's just what kind of time you have. But it's always a minimum of 5 minutes. When you're done, just roll off that slowly, come up slowly. You may not have touched that area in the last 20 years. So always be gentle, always move slowly when you're coming in and out of your techniques. So that was the first technique to help mid-back pain. And of course you would do your other side too. And now we're going to go on to that second technique I was telling you about. Ready for that second technique for mid-back pain? All right, here it is. Again, the tools, you can use any of these. I'm going to start with this technique. I'm going to start with the Theracane. And again, this is down in the description below. The link for it is down there. And again, you're going to be lying down and we're going to be working in the mid-back. We're going to be working between the shoulder blades. So anywhere, I'm going to turn around here for a second. anywhere. So here's the top of my shoulder blade. Here's the top of my shoulder blade. I'm going to be working all through here. Actually, I'm just going to use this to show you. I'm going to be working through this entire area and then over on that right shoulder blade, through that whole area, you know, over right to the spine. We never ever work right over the vertebral column. Just, it's not a good idea. So once I'm done with one side, I would go to the other. So let me show you how to use the cane. So you're gonna lie down on your back. If you have back pain, the way you get in and out of your position is lie down onto your side first, and then roll like a log onto your back. And that's the easiest for your back. All right, so you're gonna take your cane, your TheraCane, and you're gonna take the hook end, and it's gonna go under your armpit, over to your spine, just barely to your spine, come back a little bit, and you're gonna kind of crowbar. You're gonna have your hand on the base of the cane, pushing it away from your body, and as you do, it creates a force back here. And I'm just going to move around until I find a tender spot. And because there's a lot of area back here, this might take you a moment. Now I know I have a spot right on the inside of my shoulder blade, so I kind of know where to go. I've been working on that for a while. That's my new spot last week, so I'm going to go back to that. But everybody will find their own spot. So if you're using the TheraCane, keep your hands. You want to do the least amount of shoulder work as possible. You're just crowbar, you're just pushing away. This requires a lot more shoulder work. If you go to the very end, I think you could just stay here. You can see how my other arm is just kind of rested against my trunk. And it just takes ounces of effort to feel it in your back. And we're going to be there for 5 minutes. So if you haven't found a spot yet, we're starting our 5-minute counter right now. Just pause the video and keep feeling around. You can use the ball. You can put a ball behind you, the TheraBall. You can kind of roll around and shift your weight on it. And I'll show you how to do that. For those of you who are using the TheraCane, stay at your spot. I'm going to bring the TheraBall up here. So if I were on the TheraBall, I'd be moving around and shifting. First of all, have a folded towel and put it on your other cheek along your trunk line on the side you're not working on. And I would go a little higher. But you can roll around on the ball until you can feel a tender spot. Oh, and I'm on a really tender spot. But your arms are free. It's very little work. Your body weight does all the work. But do remember to have a pillow or something on the other side so you're not using your body's strength, your trunk strength, to stay even. You really want to be able to relax down. All right, so there's your other option. I'm going to go back to my cane. And I'm going to scoot back. I go just to the edge, this side's edge of the vertebral column. And I start, oh, there's my spot, or a new spot. That's where you start on your 5 minutes, but we're already in about 1.5 minutes. So what I'm doing is we're putting compression again. That's a mechanical energy. Compression, elongation, and twisting. Those are all mechanical energies. And when a mechanical energy is placed in your body for 5 minutes, it starts that electrical flow. So right now you want to be softening. You want to relax down and meld over whatever soft tissue tool that you're using. You want to relax down over it. If there's pain, that's okay. You won't injure yourself. But like I said in the last technique, if you're tensing up or you can't breathe naturally, and that is too much, and you want to back off a little bit. So you might have to use less pressure and just don't bring your shaft of the cane up as high. Just take some of the pressure off. And if you're on a ball and that's too much, like I said in the last technique too, then just start with a rolled up face cloth or washcloth or knotted face cloth or washcloth. and put it back there. Everybody could start somewhere. And what we're doing is, when you've found that tight spot or that tender spot, that's a myofascial restriction. That's an area where the fascial, myo means muscle, fascia is the connective tissue. It's an area where the fascia has bound down, glued down, and dehydrated from injury. And what we want to have happen is get a release in that area. And the myofascial release feels like softening, lengthening, taffy stretching, butter melting. You might feel warmth in the area, decreased pain. All of those are signs you're getting a release. It's always good to get about 2 releases per spot when you're working on them. So at 5 minutes, you've done the minimum you need to do to get that electrical flow going. You can stay there longer than 5 minutes. I often stay in spots about 8 or 9 minutes because I want to get 2 releases. Releases don't start till about 5 minutes. You can do a mind-body trick to help release even more. So in your mind's eye, see inside your body where you're working and see it in 3 dimensions. What does it look like? Maybe it looks like tangled up knots of string or rubber bands. Maybe it looks like gnarled up wire. Whatever the presentation is of that area that's tight and tender, see it softening, melting, and moving out towards the surface of the skin. And see it opening in the surface of the skin, and move that pain, move that picture out, whatever it is, you know, the gnarled up wire, whatever you see it moving out of your body. And when you get as much out of your body as you can, or all of it, close the opening behind it so it doesn't come back in. It's a wonderful mind-body technique. We now know the science behind visualization techniques. All right, so it looks like we're coming up at the end of our 5 minutes here. So very slowly, as you get to the end of 5 minutes, you can bring your cane out. However, if you want to stay longer, absolutely, you won't injure yourself. You just get more releases. And then come up. If you have back pain, roll like a log to the side. Push yourself up with your elbow in your hand so you can get up easily. Rearrange all the wires you have coming out of your body. All right, and that's it for today. Thank you for showing up, and I'll see you in my next video.